Bob Einstein to tell him, even though we've been doing jokes about the show winding up, that's okay, but tell him not to say today is the last show because the stations are apparently going to run tapes for quite some time. Okay.
Live from Hollywood, it's the Steve Allen Show. Coming up this hour, Herb Sargent, Bob Einstein, Celebrity Yawning, Pink Pages. This is Mark Simone, and now, here's Steve Allen.
Thank you very much, Mark Simone. Yes, from the corner of Ragtag and Bobtail, this is your Hollywood correspondent, Steve Hollywood, corresponding with you once again. And I was named correspondent in several very seamy cases, I don't mind admitting. But it is nice to be speaking to you from the corner of Sick and Tired, and I think it's going to be just a fine show today.
It is. You sound a little stuffed up today.
Three people grabbed me and stuffed me up a chimney as I was trying to get into the house quietly last night. We'll tell you about my last evening this evening.
Oh, it was another wild night. That's what it is.
On the town.
Well, we'll find out what happened last night in just a moment. On the Steve Allen Show, on the NBC. And now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, here's Steve Allen.
Thank you very much indeed from the corner of Shake and Bake. This is Steve Allen once again. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, or from the corner thereof, as the case may be.
Well, that's why you sound different. You sound a little tired today.
Well, I feel full of pep, vim, and not vigor particularly, because I don't like things that come in pre-wrapped mild packages. But I did have a great time last night.
Well, that's what you sound like. Like it was a wild night last night.
Now you're talking. Yoo-hoo! Or as we say out west, yeah!
Sound like you were up till 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but I'm up to snuff this morning. But I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, no, Sid Caesar and I think I mentioned this before the fact, went to Disneyland last night, the Disneyland Hotel in any event, where we were joined by our two sons, his son Rick and my son Steve, both of whom, the sons that is, are doctors by profession. And it was a part of a 3-day, I think, conference on the connections between humor and healing. And it was a stimulating evening. We were on, I think, for about 2 hours, the four of us just responding to questions, some from the audience and some from the young lady who was officiating. And fortunately, they've taped it. They audio taped it and videotaped it. I say fortunately because Sid was wonderfully funny as always, and all of us got a lot of laughs. And it was just one of those beautiful evenings. It was a nice father and son evening, a great comedy evening, and a lot of fun.
Oh, it was the guy dressed
so I'll be running along now, Mark. I have nothing else particularly to bring to you. No, we have.
It just seems strange to speak at Disneyland. You picture looking out at the audience and they're all dressed as Goofy and Pluto.
Well, you know, some of them were, because the conference organizers had salted the crowd or planned to amuse the crowd by hiring a lot of clowns. So there were a lot of people dressed up like clowns, and they were clowns. That's why they dressed like that. So it was a kind of cute look.
And you said, all right, you clowns, hold it down.
Show's over. A gentleman named Cullen Hightower, who has corresponded with us before.
There's nobody named Cullen Hightower.
Oh, yes.
That's not possible.
Well, it just so happens, wise guy. No, he's down in Shalimar, Florida, and he sends us a copy of a little, self-published booklet called Cullen Hightower's Wit Kit. He knows that this is Wit City here, babe. Dude.
Well, here's the guy with a healthy ego. Colin Towers' wit kit.
Yes. Shall we sample some of his wit just at random and see if we concur? All right, he says here, there's a bunch of little tiny things. He says, the 3 pains of taxes. Number 1, paying them. 2, not knowing where the money goes. 3, knowing where the money goes. Okay.
This is the wit kit?
Yeah, that's right on page 1. So that's how it is down in Shalimar, Florida.
Go to the end. I want to see how this turns out.
All right. Want me to read the very last one? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just turn it.
Yeah.
It's funny, the last 6 pages are blank. No, here it is. Not all super intelligent people examine the last pages of a book before they read the rest, but you can bet that those who do are super intelligent.
I knew it would turn out that way.
I see why he put the other one first. I didn't think
Here's another one. On page 86, old Cullen says, for many, being exploited is their first exposure to prosperity. There's a little haziness around that, but you know, if it were in a play by George Bernard Shaw, it would get a big laugh because people would think there must be wisdom there.
No, in the right setting, if you did that at Bellevue, I think you would get a big laugh.
Here's another one. It may be the self-interest of the owner that starts a business, but it's the self-interest of the customer that keeps it going. On the other hand...
You say this is self-published, huh?
Yes. Anyway, we thank Mr. Hightower for feeling that we do need help of some kind.
No, he was
I can
smart.
understand.
He was smart to publish this himself. Why cut somebody in on all the profits?
Now you're talking, and I hope you keep it up because we have 3 hours to fill. But considering that we're coming to you from the corner of Hue and Cry, I think with all the traffic going... By the way, speaking of traffic going by, it is worth your life, which I think is in How to Talk Square, to get into our office property here today in sunny Burbank, California, because the city has blocked off half the street, our half, and they have trucks and machines spewing filth, which is called tar and gravel and asphalt. And then there's a man in the other building across the driveway who has a lot of boards and sawdust and saws and things. He's obviously constructing something somewhere in the building. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to show up for work here today.
So how is Bob Einstein going to get there?
I have no idea. However, since he's a great stuntman, he'll probably leap over the top of it all and land ready for action.
Well, we have some predictions for 1988.
Already? All right.
Well,
I'm all ears.
The National Enquirer and all those papers have their predictions, but these are from the Weekly World News.
Ah.
So we have the sleaziest predictions published in America.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, these are actual predictions by various psychics. These are by Sven Peterson,
Mm-hmm.
Scandinavian-born psychic. He predicts Bill Cosby will hire Jimmy the Greek as a regular on his top-rated show.
It would be a very hip idea, but I don't see Bill perpetrating that kind of hipness.
Wheel of Fortune hostess Vanna White will publish a cookbook with a novel twist. Letters in some of the ingredients will be missing.
That's funny. Take 1 tablespoon of ooger. And sniff it with your O's. That's a funny idea.
Wall Street
I got a laugh out of it. I don't know about the rest of you people.
It's hilarious.
Wall Street Baron Ivan Besky, he's the fellow convicted of insider trading,
Yes, and rightly so.
will be placed in solitary confinement for his own safety after giving lousy stock tips to guards and fellow inmates.
Whoever wrote these predictions could consult with Cullen Hightower, I think, about the next edition of the Wit Kit.
Let's see. Madonna will announce her retirement from show business and retreat to a convent. Sean Penn
All right.
Sean,
As befits a Madonna, I suppose, where she will be worshipped.
Sean Penn will try to visit her there, only to be arrested for assault on 2 nuns.
Nonsense. There's a play by that name out here in town.
Remember, these people are serious with these predictions.
For instance,
That's quite true. That's quite true. They are. But comedy is about tragedy, as I've tried to tell you people time and time again. My Aunt Mag used to say time and time again like that.
Sven,
Would you like to hear RoboCop laughing?
Yes.
Okay. Ha, ha, ha.
You want to hear RoboCop crying?
Yes. Okay, what else is new in the prediction world?
Sven's final prediction. Jerry Falwell will offer to go 3 rounds with Mike Tyson for charity.
That's funny.
Falwell,
Charity. Oh, no, that's chastity. Go ahead.
Falwell will be knocked cold 1 second into the first round. Let's see.
This is a weird... What is this from again?
The Weekly World News.
I still think these people are secretly writing for us, and they sit around the office and say, hey, they picked up another item, Charlie.
Let's see. Here's Emil Dumas, another noted psychic.
Mm-hmm.
He predicts a popular TV talk show host will tearfully confess on camera that he always wanted to be a girl. And will announce a sex change, but will be unable to get it because his wife won't allow it.
That is funny. Here's Jenny.
Psychic Belle Starr predicts Michael Jackson will announce the creation of Jackson World.
Oh, great. It makes as much sense as Dolly World and a lot of those worlds.
The theme park will feature the world's largest chamber of horrors and offer on-the-spot plastic surgery.
That is funny. Speaking of horrors, I just realized that some horrible fate has befallen this cup out of which I'm drinking coffee. The rim is caked with rim cake, I guess. But game trooper that I am, I just drink out of the other side. Go, proceed, please.
Let's see. One final prediction. This is from Montana Kelly, the Montana-born cowboy psychic.
No, it's sidekick. They made a mistake. They sent for a sidekick, and they sent a sidekick. There's a joke there somewhere.
It says Don Knotts and Pee Wee Herman will lock biceps in the flyweight division of the National Arm Wrestling Championships.
That's a terrible disease to suffer from locked biceps.
Knotts will win the contest, but will be beaten in the finals by a midget from Arkansas.
Hands down. And if he ever put his hands up, he'd win the amount.
Well, those are just some of the predictions for 1988. We have to pause for a moment, but we'll continue in a moment with more of The Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network. You're listening to the Steve Allen Show, and once again, here's Steve Allen.
Yes, from the corner of Spit and Polish, here I am back again. And we thank our regular listener, Bruce Garabrandt of Old Bridge, New Jersey, for some of his funny thoughts today.
Are these going to be as funny as Clayton Watchtower?
Well, you've already heard some of them. Bruce sent us...
What was his name? Coleman Water Tower?
Cullen Hightower.
Cullen Hightower.
Yes. And if you have to go out and cull the high towers every so often, otherwise they'll grow too high and interfere with air traffic.
That sounds like a soap opera name. On soap operas, they give characters unusual names.
Yes, it sounds like a southern name. Well, he's down in Florida. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce the future Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Cullen Hightower. Step up to the stump, Cullen.
Mm-hmm. So we have another wit kit?
You want another little sample of Cullen's wit?
No, you said you had someone else.
Somebody else you just mentioned.
Someone else you just
mentioned.
mentioned.
Oh, no, Bruce Garabrandt. I started to say he gave us some of our street corners.
Oh, really?
From the corner of Arm and Hammer. From the corner of Stoop, Niggle, and Bud. He sends us a supply of those.
When did he write them?
Well, his letter was sent out on March 14th on some of our stations.
Well, then he's a scab.
He probably
spent. The Writers Guild hath spoken.
He probably spent weeks working on Arm and Hammer. I can see him at a
Rank
desk,
and file.
Crumpled up papers all around his desk. Going, arm and leg? No, that's not it.
From the corner of Spick and Span.
Well, Jesse Jackson had something funny to say yesterday.
Oh, good.
He was addressing the USA Today board members.
Mm-hmm. And many of them are, but what did he say to them?
And he said to the people behind the USA Today, we have a lot in common. Too much color, all headlines, and no substance.
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a little contrived, but it is funny. Something can be contrived and funny at the same time. A lot in common. Wasn't he an Egyptian emperor 2,000 years ago?
Yeah. You're thinking of Toots.
Tutankhamun.
Toots Uncommon.
Hey, Toots. You're too down common, babe.
Well, here's an
Eat
amazing
some sand.
Story from California. Fustus Ringenberg.
How's that first name again? Fustus?
Fustus Ringenberg, who's better known as Fred.
Thank goodness.
Received a letter offering a MasterCard from a bank with a $5,000 limit.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Fustus is a cat. But the card came pre-approved and it can be used by Fustus.
That's interesting. Gets all the saucers of milk he wants now, and no back talk.
Fustus's owner, Janet, says she's flabbergasted, but if they want to extend credit to the cat, she said that's fine with her.
Sure, and I bet it's been a long time since her flabber has been gasted, too, so there's something to say for that.
A credit card company spokesman said it's probably a computer error.
Or maybe just some dog looking for a little action. You never know.
Can you imagine if Fustus actually had to fill out the application?
It could well be.
Occupation, sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Scratching.
Yes. Sometime today on some of our stations, we're going to be visited again by Dan Brenner, an attorney and a funny one, funny enough to do stand-up comedy. He's been with us before, of course. I for one, and T for two, don't know which hour Mr. Brenner is appearing.
It's one of these hours. Also, Bob Einstein will be here. And
wonderful.
And lots more coming up. We even have a few surprises planned. We'll hear some highlights of previous shows also.
Oh, you mentioned that yesterday.
That and more
and it never materialized.
Just ahead on the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
Shove off. Hi, good to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
How have you been?
Good.
Dan Brenner's going to be on this hour.
It's this hour?
On this hour.
Okay, good. Yeah, jump in.
I did something, since I was here last, I did this show that actually was carried in New York.
Snicker Theater?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So at least some of the New York audience might have seen it. It was on WNBC.
Yeah.
Very late. I was sort of
Late arriving here today?
No, late on. I mean, it was on late. It was
I see it.
Very
I see.
late night television show, but it carried for about. I did it for 14 weeks, and I had some people who I took over for people who did it for 13 weeks.
Yeah.
So we could yak about that. And I'm supposed to plug a comedy benefit that you're involved with, sort of the stand-up comic Take a Stand.
It sounds vaguely familiar. Well, I'll learn when you tell me about it. Is that taking place here in town?
It's taking place here in town. They may get a deal with the CBN cable to air the finals.
Great.
In June.
Oh, Christy. Could you ask anybody to bring down from my desk my little handheld tape recorder dictator? Thanks so much.
They played on an old-time radio show, a 1949 KNX.
Mm-hmm.
One of your shows from KNX.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Know if they were
Was it the one with Al Jolson, by any chance?
No, you were just sort of schmoozing with the audience.
Ah.
It was so funny.
I'll be darned. I'd like to find out what that was and get a copy of it myself. There's very little that exists in the way of tape on that show.
Yeah. It was something where people could walk in or you stand in line for tickets. And
Yeah. No, the show I remember clearly, but I mean, I didn't know that there was much available. One thing has been released.
Ford was on.
Then I'd love to. If you can, well, we'll talk about it on the air here.
Sure.
You're listening to the Steve Allen Show. This is Mark Simone. Herb Sargent is here, and once again, here's Steve Allen.
Thank you very much, Mark. You are aware, of course, that what we're doing here the last year or so on this show is quite a lot like a program I did for the CBS station in Los Angeles in the late 40s, although we had an audience of about 400 or 500 people a night for that.
Oh, we still have an audience of 400 or 500 people.
And Dan Brenner, who is now on the premises. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Steve.
Parenthetically. He was just saying a moment ago during the commercial that he heard some local, was it a radio program?
Public radio station carrying one of the transcription of
that old show.
Yeah,
And
with Tennessee Ernie Ford was the guest.
Then it must have been some transcription that some engineer had in his glove compartment, because I've never heard that show. So far as I know, the only material that exists from that show is one particular program which was released as a record album. It features Al Jolson singing his heart out and doing about 8 or 9 numbers and being very funny as a guest. And another one which has not been released, a very delightful program, because the guest that evening was Gloria Swanson, just after her glorious triumph and return in Sunset Boulevard. But I'm pleased to hear that there is more in the world than those two shows.
Why hasn't the Gloria Swanson been released?
I don't know. There's a fellow named, I don't know, Garabedian or something.
Garabedian's
like
the name, yeah.
Is that the guy's name? He released he specializes in vintage material, old Burns and Allen shows and whatever. So that's how he happened to come to me and ask what I had, and he saw the Jolson package and released it. But he said that he thought he would wait for a while on the Gloria Swanson thing. Anyway, it does exist, and now apparently there's a little more than that. If you can remember later, Dan, or even remember now what show it was you were listening to.
It was Pasadena Public Radio. I'll have to. It's on Friday nights, and they play old radio shows, and it was Tennessee. It was before 16 tons. I know that.
Yeah.
The problem was
maybe 15 tons. I don't know which.
In those years,
did he have Mule? Was Mule Train one of Tennessee Ernie Ford's hits?
No,
I thought that was Frankie Lane.
Frankie Lane had the big hit. Maybe Tennessee Ernie sang it, perhaps.
Yeah. Maybe.
What were you saying, Mark?
I was going to say the problem in those years was the recording tape hadn't been developed yet.
That's true. The transcriptions were made on big 16-inch discs. I can still remember that purple wool that used to accumulate as it dug little grooves in the glass. Disc jockeys always use the word wax, or at least they used to. I don't know how much wax was ever used in that process. But
purple wool accumulated on Liberace's carpet, too, a lot. We have to stop for just a moment. We'll continue in a moment with the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
You don't still do Mocha Mix, do you? Or do you?
You mean the commercials?
Yeah.
I think they're still using them now and then, but we haven't done one for about 2 years. I was talking to my son, Steve, last night about a point of law that occurred to him while he was testifying in a case, and he said his attorney, who's a very formidable fellow, whose name I can't remember, said, I know a million things about law, and that particular point had never occurred to me before. It came up in an actual ball game. Steve was asked some tough question, and he was quite prepared to answer it, but it was a difficult one, purposely, thrown at him. And his attorney said, "I object," and he objected for about 12 minutes, at great length. And
You're listening to The Steve Allen Show. Our guest is Dan Brenner. Herb Sargent is with us. This is Mark Simone. And once again, here's Steve Allen.
Sometimes people might be, shaving carrots or something while they listen to a show, and they're only picking out, let's say, 82%. Thank you, Rosie. Every time I say 82%, I have a deal with the devil where I have to say thank you, Rosie. It's a weird custom, but it works for me. And no, Rosie just handed me something. Don't hand me that, Rosie. What am I talking about, Mark? Ask Herb.
Some people may be shaving carrots, which I thought was an appropriate point to bring up. We were wondering when you were going to say something about it.
The shavings are the best part. The people always throw them away. That's where they make a big mistake.
They are?
Whatever you throw away, that's always the best part. And if people say they don't like it, then there's a cliche you always say to them, "Oh, you don't know what's good." That's in How to Talk Square or something like that. In any event, what the hell was I talking about?
He's talking about shaving carrots.
Some people may be shaving carrots while they listen.
Oh, I remember now. I remember, yes. I'm talking about Dan Brenner.
Right.
Thank you, Dan, for reminding me of that. He loomed in the foreground. He loomed in the foreground. And he's not just your neighborhood stand-up comic, although he is indeed that. But to give you some details, he is director of the Communications Law Program and adjunct professor. I was there the day he was junked. At the UCLA School of Law.
Yeah, today I lecture, 2 o'clock. If you'd like to come down, anyone in the radio audience I'm talking about.
Wonderful, from all over America.
Yes.
Just come on down to UCLA School of Law. And
Room 1337.
Professor Brenner will be doing it there. And he also brings his experience in broadcast regulatory policy. I wish you had been advising our program the last several months. Academics, journalism, and broadcasting to the board of directors of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the primary organization, mind you, charged with the national growth and development of public radio and television in the United States.
Then he's
personal
probably
advisor to Jimmy Swaggart. There's nothing this man has not done.
Then you're probably very up to date on the FCC laws.
That's it, yeah.
He was with the FCC for a long time.
Yeah, for about almost 7 years.
Because everybody's confused.
Senior advisor to FCC chairman Mark Fowler.
There's a new ruling now that you can use obscenity between midnight and 6 a.m. on the air.
You can?
No. What they're saying is that you can use indecency. Obscenity's always forbidden.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Now, the line, yeah, the line is sometimes hard to draw. I guess if a program's not sponsored, it turns from indecency. Now that's an obscenity. They can't find any commercial.
But that's actually a startling statement. You can use indecency between midnight and 6.
What they were trying to say is that you don't have to worry so much about children in the audience between midnight and 6 a.m.
Good point. Yes.
They had an earlier ruling that said it started you had to worry about children all the time. In other words, even after midnight, you had to assume the children were in the audience, and therefore the programming had to be fit for children. And then they reconsidered that decision. That had to do with some stations. Howard Stern was involved in that round of decisions, and a station here in Los Angeles, the Pacifica station.
Now, how did old Howard come out in that regard? He can do his thing only after midnight now, or he's under arrest at 2 in the afternoon, or what?
Well, they said they criticized him for what he did, but I don't think really the effect was that he was prohibited from doing anything in particular, because they didn't. They said that his double entendre was indecent. I see.
I never have heard it, but I've been told it's single entendre, that there's no doubt whatever as to what his meaning is at certain things. No, again, I have not heard him, so I'm just going on the basis of reports. Old Howard does dirty stuff. I mean, is it that simple, Mark?
Well, yes.
It's all right. I'm just asking. That's what I've heard, and I didn't know if it's true or not.
He says things that you wouldn't even think.
But Bob Einstein would do them on our show. I hear them. I'm subjected to.
He
gets back to the
He makes Bob Einstein sound like Mother Teresa.
which reminds me of the shaving carrots business from earlier.
But
now, Dan Brenner is involved with something at the moment called Snicker Theater. That has nothing to do with candy bars. Right?
Not at all. It's been on in about 30 markets, including in New York. It was on WNBC, so maybe some of your listeners heard it.
Oh, great.
It was very late at night. It was sort of the lead into Brian Gumbel in the Today Show, to give you some idea how late it came on. But it was essentially sort of bad movies from the 60s from Europe that had been dubbed. And
when you say dubbed, do you mean new voices put in? Or?
No, dubbed into English.
I see.
Of course, Italian movies, this is something I learned while doing the show, that Italian movies are not filmed with a soundtrack. They don't record the sound. All the voices are put in later because they're for the different languages.
I never knew that.
The way I knew that, there was one picture called Eyes Behind the Stars, and one of the actors was Martin Balsam. And he appears in the picture, but it's a different voice speaking English, so they dub in his English later on.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, and these were takeoffs of James Bond, some kung fu pictures, spaghetti westerns, and I would basically sort of comment on them as the film went along in the corner.
I see. Now, did you in any degree change the actual dubbing dialogue?
No, I let the facts speak for themselves.
I see. There is somebody has done that. Remember, Herb, we used to stand around sometimes on our stage when we probably should have been rehearsing, and how we were watching an old movie on a TV screen, I don't know, except maybe it was just an NBC line that happened to be turned on in the afternoon. And we would turn the sound off, and we would all ad-lib. When actors' mouths would move, we would ad-lib crazy lines.
Right.
And then I think, Herb, didn't somebody eventually do that?
Richard
Woody
Belzer.
Allen?
I think Richard Belzer did it.
well, the Alan Thicke Show did it as
Yeah.
a regular feature.
Well, What's Up Tiger Lily was
That's
that
that way.
he dubbed a Japanese picture.
Yeah.
But this, we let the picture run and
Just
just sort
as
of comment on it. And what's, to me, constantly amazing about these films is that they actually got produced.
Yeah.
That people would put up money for these scripts and these kinds of effects.
Creative people in the book publishing world, in radio, in films, in magazines, I guess maybe all the media of public expression, and often the more creative and gifted they are, the more they are constantly amazed that Project A of their own creation has been rejected, and they figure, well, okay, so it wasn't, from here to eternity or whatever. And then they open a book at the neighborhood bookstore and read total garbage that did get published, or a really stupid movie that did get made when nobody will make their good movie idea. It's an endless frustration of that sort. Don't you find that true, Herb?
Yes.
Well, what do you know?
Oh, Stan Burns and I used to go upstairs in the Hudson Theater building and watch you. We'd turn the sound off on you and try to put funny lines in your mouth.
Any way you did it, it all worked out. That is funny. I'm just reading here something from a publicity release.
Relax, Steve.
About yourself?
Yes. No, about Dan Brenner. And I'm also having a beer and a grilled cheese sandwich. But, no, it says here, I like mystery films. And the mystery, I see who's the very point he made. Mystery is how these films, such as 28 Minutes for $3 Million. That's an actual title, Dan?
That's an actual title.
That's funny.
My favorite in the group, in the series, if you will.
I will.
Why not? Night of Hate.
Night of Hate.
Which is sort of a...
The original title was In the Hate of the Night. It was an Irish film. Hi, Bob. It's Big Bob Einstein. In the Hate of the Night. We were just talking about Night Hate. What was the title again?
Night of Hate.
Night of Hate.
A Mexican Texas thriller.
Tex-Mex thriller.
Yes, it was. Totally digestible.
And if you've ever had your Tex-Mex, it's a great thrill, Bob. Well, now that you have your earphones on, Bob, this is Dan Brenner, a stand-up comic. It's funny,
Hi,
you're
Dan.
standing up and he's sitting down, but he's nevertheless a stand-up comic and a stand-up guy, as we say on the street. And lest you get out of line, Bob.
Yes.
See, already you're...
I'm being warned.
Mr. Fowler, Mr. Foul, I'm sorry. Mr. Brenner.
Foulmouth. We'll take care of that.
Anyway, he was formerly senior advisor to FCC chairman Mark Fowler, and he's adjunct professor of law in the junkyards all over the
And he's doing dropsies right
at
now.
UCLA. So we have a legal scholar, a philosopher, and a stand-up comic.
Former Beverly grad is...
You guys went to the same high school?
Yes, we did.
I think you may have been in my brother's class.
Yeah, when did you graduate?
I was in the class of 69,
Oh,
so that was a few.
I graduated in 76.
That's right.
That's the spirit.
I'm only 13.
Remember that joke?
Hi, Mark and Herb.
Do you realize
Hey,
how
Bob.
long it's been since Bob Einstein has actually come in person?
Yes, it's a rare privilege and a pleasure.
Well, I'm not here. Today is not special. It's just one of those days I decided to drop in.
What were you up to last evening or yesterday at this time? Outside of you were spewing filth, I recall.
Yeah, I recall. No, I was up to about 2:22. It was during lunch.
I see. You were
in my office.
You were in your office.
Yes.
Feet on the desk.
Feet on the desk and hands on the desk. I was on all fours.
And knees on the
I was waiting
desk.
for the moon. No, I was wishing I could write. Not that we're on strike, just that I had the talent.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. There's a writer's strike. There's a frustration now. For example, if there were a piano player's strike and I couldn't play the piano, I would feel inhibited.
But you're a writer and you can't write.
That's true, but I do it
You
with
do
my
it
mouth.
anyway.
No, I break I'm a scab.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I do all my writing with my mouth in that I dictate because I hold a pencil in my teeth.
But
and
that's
it's
still
not-
writing.
Yeah, but I'm not selling it to anybody.
No, me either. No, because no one will buy it. I'd love to sell anything I write, but no one will buy anything I do.
Now, technically, are you allowed to write, say, a movie?
You're allowed to write anything you want as long as you're not getting paid for it. I mean, no one can stop us from going home and writing Mom a letter.
Hmm. My mom used to pay me for her letters, so
Yes.
I could get arrested for that.
We have to pause.
Well, I guess Herb and Mark are just shutting up today. I guess there's no communication or participation at all.
Hawkers strike in New York.
We have to take a
The
break.
local.
But
Oh, there they are.
we'll come back
to take a break.
in just a
Herb, are you
moment.
going to take a break too?
We'll be back in a moment with more
Take a break, Hoffman. Remember him?
of the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
Your deal, man.
My brother graduated in 64.
60.
You were 60? Then your brother Al was 60.
64.
64, so it was Al.
Yeah.
Robbie was in his. I guess they were classmates.
Robbie.
Robbie Brenner.
Oh.
'Cause that's. I guess that I knew there was one Einstein in the class.
Did Rob Reiner go to
Yep.
Beverly?
He went to Beverly. Joey Bishop's kid.
Whatever happened to him?
Joey. Whatever happened to Joey?
No, yeah, true, yeah.
Larry. was
Larry's his name?
Yeah.
And what about Curly?
He was the other son. No one talked about.
Remind me when we get back on the air, if I indeed remember that I want to be reminded, about last night. I've already told the guys about a bit of it with Sid Caesar.
Max Rafferty went to Beverly.
Who?
Max Rafferty, remember
Yeah.
the weird school?
Yeah, he went to Beverly.
Richard Chamberlain. It's about and the
You
best.
don't mean the old conservative columnist?
Yeah.
Really?
Or
That
the school education guy.
one? Yes.
Yeah.
You got to be that.
And did you know where Jack Kemp went to high school?
No.
Fairfax.
No kidding.
Isn't that amazing?
Do you know Fairfax was all Jewish when I was going to high school,
Yeah,
and
same.
now it's an all black school.
Yeah.
No
Was-
kidding.
That's the same with my household.
And Sammy Davis is the principal.
Yes, but I got to
that,
tell you.
He was.
Oh, I've got a headache today, just
Oh, well,
beyond belief.
Let's talk about your headache on the air.
All right.
Get some calls for headache
Oh
remedies.
boy,
You know,
it'll get better.
people love to be involved with real headaches. That's why I invited you here today.
It's entertainment.
Oh, later we can go up and hand you your picture. It'll save us 28 cents sending it to you.
Great.
You take care of the pictures, and the pennies will add up to some line of
Steve
it.
Allen Show. With us this hour, Bob Einstein, star of the Super Dave Osborne Show on Showtime. Herb Sargent, Dan Brenner. This is Mark Simone, and here's Steve Allen.
Dan Brenner has a cough, and I've just seen evidence, or heard evidence, and Bob Einstein has a headache.
I do.
A splitting headache?
A splitting headache. I think it's. I mean, I don't want to.
It's fate.
It's just. It's what?
It's fate.
Fate that I would get sick this ordinary day. This unspecial day.
I mean, for all the headaches
I
you've
just thought of a
caused.
great. I just thought of a great invention.
What's that,
and it's
Bob?
something that we could do
Sure.
if we have nothing else to do. So many people have car phones in this city
Mm-hmm.
that we could open up a restaurant where you could call us on a car phone and we could kind of come alongside of you on the freeway
And hand it
and
along,
hand the food.
but not over 40 miles an hour.
No, it'll be mobile meat.
Yeah, in the third and...
Oh, boy. Daffy Duck could work for us. We could serve something. Suck at that.
That comes from trying to say third and fourth simultaneously.
There they are. This would be our music as we came up. We'd be a giant duck.
In the third and fourth lanes.
Perfect.
You nasty man. Joe Penner used to talk like that and made millions.
Want to buy a duck?
Yes. I mean, yes, he did. I don't mean I want to buy a
selling
duck.
everything today.
The strike is having an effect.
Closing out.
There's
Closing out.
certain food you could serve, like a hot dog you could serve with a bazooka.
That's right. You could shoot it in the window. And ice cream, you could kind of throw the cone in first and then try to hit it.
But I wouldn't try to hand a pizza across because
No,
the wind would catch
you
you.
got to tell them it's hot.
No, a pizza would be very easy, like a Frisbee. You just throw it
Just
in.
frisbee it right in.
Oh, I see. Well, I suppose you could. do
Gravy would be tough.
A hose.
Yeah, you got a point. This man wants to make it this
that.
work.
A gravy hose. Yes, it could be like those planes that fuel each other at 80,000
Exactly.
feet.
I think it's a very good concept.
Yeah, it's a stupid idea. But if you're talking about conception,
And we
you've
can
come
make
to the right man.
we
I
can
don't
make
want
it.
to go any farther.
You can make even more money with all the times you miss by opening a car wash.
Yes.
That's right.
And you could finish up at Earl Scheib for dessert.
You want to hear a strange California story?
Absolutely.
Boy, are we ever in the mood
Is
for
there
that.
any other?
Here's an only in Hollywood story. This
Uh-huh.
is actually in today's newspaper. 2 gunmen with Irish brogues and wearing
And what kind of socks were they wearing?
and wearing Halloween masks, black tights, and jumpsuits tied up employees yesterday at Dolly Don Quixote Jewelers and fled.
Dolly Don Quixote?
Yes, there have been a lot of owners of that place.
I see. Dolly Parton.
Yes, first for Dolly, then Don, then Quixote. They were all out.
Tied up employees and fled with $1 million in jewelry.
My God.
Wow.
Why were they dressed like that?
Just
It
their
was St.
normal work
Patrick's
clothes.
Day. What do you
St.
think?
Patrick's
I
Day.
see.
Yes.
Oh.
And not too many guys on St. Patrick's Day wear orange masks, but it shows that their hearts were on both sides of
They
the
wanted
border.
the jewelry just to wear it. You know.
To see if it turned green
right.
on next St. Patrick's Day.
But they told the cops that they were wearing Halloween masks, black tights, and jumpsuits. And the cops said, do they have any distinguishing features?
Yeah.
Black tights and jumpsuits.
They just immediately mingled in the foot traffic on Hollywood.
They would pass unnoticed. So did Joe Namath, but that's another
Oh, but I
matter.
got to tell you, yeah, what I was thinking. Oh, you wanted me to remind you about Sid Caesar, Dinner with Sid.
Yes.
Disneyland with Sid.
Disney with Sydney.
Yes, Disney with Sydney.
His name is Sid.
Yeah, I told the guys in a nutshell or whatever earlier that we had a lot of fun. It was Sid's son, Rick. Have you seen Rick in recent years?
Rick is about 6'10".
Rick is closer to 7 feet,
Sorry.
but you were in the right
6'10",
neighborhood.
Yes, it's close.
Yeah, very
Closer
close.
to 7 feet. What, 6'11"? Now we
Freeze.
can go on. 6'11" and a half.
You had no idea how tall he was at all. until
I know
told
who
you.
he was.
He looks like a tall Beverly Hills Abraham Lincoln. He has the Lincoln-esque beard. I heard Lincoln-esque himself. Boy, that's a dumb one. Anyway,
Did somebody send for mouth repair?
Yes. Mobile mouth repair.
medic.
He looks like a Beverly Hills Abraham Lincoln?
So it could be construed. Yeah, no, he's tall.
You mean Abraham
But,
Lincoln didn't have a Beverly Hills look to begin with?
Well, sort of. Anyway, he looks Lincoln-esque, as I said,
Yes.
and a little humor-esque, too. He was very amusing. He comes from a funny family. And Sid was in rare form, and Steve Jr. is very witty, so the four of us got millions of laughs, and I was saying it's on tape for the ages.
Where was it?
In the Disneyland Hotel,
And what was the occasion?
the annual Goofy the Dog honorary
Runoff.
dinner. So the MC
will
said,
go anywhere for not
"And now here's Steve Allen." No, it was a 3-day seminar, conference, convention, whatever, on humor and healing.
Oh, yeah, humor.
Many health professionals.
Laugh your way to health.
Yeah.
A lot of sick people listen to this show.
And if they weren't before,
there are no laughs.
Here comes some more pink
Here
pages.
comes pink pages on this
Yes.
almost. Could I have something to drink, please?
Wasn't it
Mark,
Henry
anyone?
Mancini who wrote the Pink Pages
Yes,
theme song?
it's
Something
very
like
good.
that.
Moon River.
Well, you guys talk to each other for a few minutes
All
because
right, we'll handle it. While
I'm
you
leaving.
bow out.
I'm leaving for Nassau shortly after the program.
So are we.
Are you being
No
whisked
kidding.
away?
We're going with you.
We all going to be together in Nassau?
Exactly. We're all going to the Bahamas.
Oh boy!
We're taking Rick Caesar, and we're gonna take him over there as a
Because
boat.
he can grab the coconuts for the rest of it.
That's right.
If you've ever had your.
All right,
Okay.
he's reading now, so we have to take over the program. Is there
Thank
any
you.
sleazy news there?
Yeah, there's lots of sleazy news.
Okay. While I read, you entertain the folks, would you?
Except we only got 2 minutes in this hour. We could save it
Well,
for
do
another
a real
hour.
quick news story.
Yeah. Short and
brief.
sleazy.
Short and sleazy. That's what Steve says
Real
to his
quick.
tailor.
Down and dirty.
This sleazy headline: Babe Ruth's ghost seen at Yankee Stadium.
Pointing at imaginary crowd.
And hitting a non-ball over an imaginary fence.